Guess what, y'all? Just like that, the first round of the playoffs is over. And you know what? Straight up A++ from almost everybody involved. I think that every series, except for one, no disrespect to Thunder versus Suns, but golly, Thunder versus Suns went exactly the way we expected, and they gave us no wild cards. Every other series ended up giving us something. You know, a new narrative to play around with. Great games, game winners. The future of a team being in jeopardy. It ends up being a phenomenal first round. And maybe I'm just living in the moment, but it feels like one of the best first rounds we've had, where we had, you know, top seeds in multiple conferences looking on like they were on the brink of elimination in the first round. The 1 seeded 60-win Pistons had to go to 7 to get rid of their 8 seed Orlando Magic. The 2 seeded Boston Celtics is straight up out of the tournament, y'all. The Denver Nuggets, a team that many of us believe to be contenders, is straight up out of the tournament. So it ended up being really, really, really fun. And hell, instead of just being the first round series, let's go back to the play-in. That was a banger too. So I just feel like since the turn of regular season versus postseason, we've got everything. And all the old heads that been talking trash about our league, not playing defense, being too soft, being this, being that. This first round of the postseason was for you. Because I thought defense was amazing. I thought the physicality that the refs let you play with on a day-by-day basis, maybe it varies a little bit, but the physicality we were allowed to see was different than a regular season, which I appreciate. Even in the back of my mind, I was like, I can imagine how difficult it would be for a player to see that the physicality in the 82-game season is called this way, and then in the last day of the regular season, you got to switch it up to play a little bit more physical. Anyway, so it has been great. And over on my Kenny For Real channel, you should be following that channel if you're not already. It would be weird for you to be actually watching this episode without watching Kenny For Real, because that is my biggest of all my channels. Either way, on my Kenny For Real channel, I have been dropping, I don't want to say daily, but near daily recap videos where I'm talking about the games that I saw that night, giving my predictions and opinions on said games. And because I've been doing that for the entirety of the postseason, I wanted to take a different approach for this episode of Small Ball and look at the teams that were eliminated. Yeah, like Kenny, we got so much time to think about offseason. You're right. You're right. But guess what I am? The internet general manager. I'm always thinking about offseasons. I'm watching games live and thinking about offseason. So that's what we do around here. So what I decided to do on today's episode is, on a scale of 1 through 10, I decided to give a number to the teams on how panicked they should be going into the offseason. Again, based on all of the teams that have been eliminated. Before we do that, I am filming this right after we saw Cavs versus Raptors and right after Pistons versus Magic. So let me give you my quick hitter of how these two games went. Let's just go backwards because the Cavs game just wrapped up. Shout out to Jared Allen, by the way. That's like the main takeaway you can have for a game like this for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Jared Allen, 22-19. I really was hoping he was going to get that extra board, because 20-20 in the game 7 just sounds better than 22-19. But regardless, this was a series where he had a ton of ups and downs. One of the games they lost in Toronto, I vividly remember him and Evan Mobley combining for like 11 total points. And it was like, man, the Raptors are definitely a fire hydrant of a team defensively. Even though they're not the same size as you, I can understand how physical they can be and how much they can take you out of your rhythm. But at the end of the day, you still are the bigger two players on the court right now. So let me see that. And in this game, he was aggressive, not even just aggressive on the glass and finishing at the rim. He had a couple steals that led to breakaway opportunities for him. And at the end of the game, there's a little bit of scuffle because this is game 7. These teams have been going against each other for 2 weeks straight. Think about that. Imagine going against the same dude 2 weeks straight. Oh, my God, I'd be so annoyed with seeing that person's face. So, yeah, we got a little squab up a little bit. And even Jared Allen, Mr. I'ma build your PC. He missed the same fit. No logos. He even is telling the Toronto Raptors, go home? What? Is this the game we've been waiting for Jared Allen? I think it was a great time to have your best playoff game ever. And listen, I ain't go through the box score of his playoff appearances, but I remember when the lights were too bright. I remember last year. I remember the year where he was injured and didn't want to play, and they were not making fun of him, but they were making articles about him not wanting to get the injection in order for him to be ready to play. I remember all of that. So for him to come out in this game 7 and have his best playoff game matters a ton, because I think that he really did save them from us having like a 40-minute episode of strictly talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers in a negative light. But they advance, and that's all that matters. Because there's parts of this series where, my goodness, James Harden looked like the James Harden that people make fun of as far as like him being a playoff dropper. There was times in this series where Donovan Mitchell looked like a guy that gets similar thing. Donovan Mitchell has a great third quarter. I mean, they have the momentum going into halftime, but has a great third quarter, propels them to the big lead that they eventually just kept the entire time. So it was cool to finally see Sam Merrill and Max Strus also have like solid shooting nights overall. They hit some big time shots. They played great defense and made turnovers. How many turnovers to be exact? Turned 14 turnovers and some points. And just like that, they advanced to the next round, which like, even though they did not look good, but first of all, both of the teams that advanced, talking about the Pistons and the Cleveland Cavaliers, did not look good in very big parts of their series. So again, these games just happened, so I hadn't even thought about their matchup because I wanted to let the games end before I start thinking about it. But off the top of mine, I don't know. Is that crazy? I think with the way the Pistons ended their last series, right? Let's transition over to their games. The way the Pistons ended their last series gives you some of the hope back from that 60-win season they just had, being down 3-1 and coming back. And granted, part of that comeback is the opposing team missing 23 straight shots, but the Pistons get credit defensively for a lot of those misses. And then in this game 7, it was just great to see the others show up, because there have been times in the series where it was like, hey, do this, and if it ain't Cade, it ain't nobody. And unfortunately for Paolo, he was the guy that was dealing with that today, where it was him. I mean, he scored like 14 out of the first 16 points. At one point, the team had 60, and he had 30. So, like, he was really backpacking this team. And there were times in the series where that was Cade Cunningham doing all of the work, creating every open shot and getting downhill, get into his midi. And in today's game, he was phenomenal as well, 32-12 and very efficient with it. But Toby came to play. Danish Jenkins, who at some parts in the series was like, here's 5 minutes, and that's all you got. So to see those guys come out and play, and then the best Jalen Duren game of the series, it's a good way to get the momentum going for the next series. 3 straight wins is something you can feel great about. I want to talk about Tobias Harris, though, because obviously we remember some of the stuff about him in closeout games from just a few seasons ago before he get into Detroit, right? Didn't he have a 0-point closeout game his last appearance in Philly, if I'm not mistaken? So for him to come out and have 30 in a game 7 is huge for him, for the Pistons, and all season long we're talking about, man, Tobias Harris low-key is a second offensive option. What can that take you? And what we just found out is at the bare minimum, it might be able to take you to the second round. So shout out to Toby. Asar Thompson flying around all series long. I thought he was really effective as a defensive player today. And I think it is no coincidence that when you hit your three-pointers, which is what the Detroit Pistons did today, you win basketball games. 48% from 3 on 16 makes. I mean, I didn't realize Chaz Lanier got a minute in, and guess what he did? He hit a shot. So shout out Chaz Lanier. I can't wait to see exactly how both of these teams match up in the next round, because I don't know, I could see some of the things that hurt the Cavs in the original series versus Toronto Raptors hurting them in this series versus the Detroit Pistons. The one thing is the Raptors don't have like interior size, in the sense that they don't have a 7-foot guy other than Jakob Poeltl that you're scared about. But every other position is either super long and super big, or it's like Jamal Shea, who's a smaller guy but also is a hound. And I think that, you know, the Pistons are as physical, but maybe not as big overall as a team. But then again, I say that, I'm like, okay, Asar Thompson, Cade Cunningham, Duncan Robinson, those all like 6'6", 6'7" type of guys. So maybe they can do some of the things that, you know, scared the Cleveland Cavaliers in this series. I'm also wondering of how much of what we saw from Jalen Duren in this series versus the Orlando Magic is just the Orlando Magic having the perfect defensive scheme against him versus him just not being ready for true playoff basketball. And I think we're gonna see, because other than today, a lot of these games end up being really bad. You think about the games that they lost, the three games that they lost. Some of them games is like, man, Jalen Duren 9 points. I mean, he's averaging 9 for the series. So I'm curious to see, because the Cavs have bits and pieces where they do look like an elite defensive team, but they're not nearly as great defensively as like what the peak of the Orlando Magic can be. So those are some of the things I'm thinking about for this upcoming series. Cade Cunningham versus Donovan Mitchell, it should be a really good matchup. Who's going to have their shooting come to play is always going to be a big one. And I wonder how much, because the Cavs win that game, but I don't feel great about them. But maybe I should.